Yes. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining today's seminar on the expectations of the Audit Committee from Internal Audit, organized by Internal Audit Standards Board, that is IASB, ICAI. As organizations face growing regulatory, operational, and strategic risks, audit committees increasingly rely on internal audit, and they do not rely only for compliance assurance, but for independent insight, risk awareness, and value-added recommendations as well. So today we will briefly explore what audit committee expects from internal audit from that perspective. And for delivering the same, it's my pleasure to introduce CA Naresh Pinge sir, a distinguished expert in ethics, corporate governance, risk management, and internal audit. Sir is a chartered accountant and law graduate with an executive education credential from Stephen M. Ross School of Business, University of Michigan, USA. With a professional career spanning over 4 decades, he has held senior leadership roles with renowned organizations such as Tata Motors, ICICI Bank Group, Reliance Retail, and JSW Steel. Retiring from Tata Motors as Chief of Internal Audit, Risk Management, and Ethics. He currently serves as an independent director on the boards of several leading institutions and is the past president of the Institute of Internal Auditors, India. In the professional arena, Sir is the past president of the Institute of Internal Auditors of India, as we discussed, and his contributions have been widely recognized. He is recipient of the prestigious ACIIA Award from the Asian Confederation of Institutes of Internal Audit for outstanding contribution to internal audit in 2017 and the ICI Award from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India in 2014. We are truly fortunate to have you, sir, a true leader who combines deep technical expertise, governance wisdom, and vast practical experience. So, all please join me in welcoming Pinge sir. And sir, all over to you.
Thank you, Anup. Okay, I just want you to confirm whether you can see my presentation. Hold on.
Yes, sir. Now we are able to see your presentation.
You can see it, right? Okay.
Yes.
So, good evening, all. Thank you very much to ISB of ICA for inviting me. Thanks a lot, Anup, for introducing me so nicely. Only one correction is my name is Nagesh Pinge, not Naresh Pinge. That is the only thing. No issues. I remain the same. It doesn't matter. So I think today I'm going to spend some time on expectations of audit committee chairman from internal audit. Now you will ask me what right do I have to make this presentation. So I must say that first thing first, I have been a part of ISB in the past as well. I am a chartered accountant and a hardcore internal audit professional. Before I retired, till I retired from Tata Motors. Prior to that, I had a long innings with ICICI Bank. So, I was a chief of internal audit all throughout. And since 1998, and prior to that, I was literally doing marketing of the banking and everything on that account. So after my retirement, I thought, let me, do any practice or services the way, most of our chartered accountants are doing it because it's too late in the, time. So I decided, let me pursue something called, becoming an independent director. And I found that being a chartered accountant, being a person who knew accounting, and I was always closely associated with the accounting standards and the ICAI, lot of offers kept on coming my way to take on a chairman of audit committee. As on today, I am on seven audit committees as chairman of that particular part. Obviously, I think thanks to ICAI and the sort of, I would say, upbringing that they bring it to us and the sort of learning that we do during our, post qualification thing. I think a person like a chartered accountant can become really a good independent director and can become a chairman of audit committee. It's very easy if you have a right kind of, connects with the institute on that account in terms of knowledge, in terms of technicalities, and also with internal auditor. And I think this is something which is very critical. So I have made a specially curated presentation for you people. And I'm happy in case you allow people to unmute and raise questions. Otherwise, you can raise questions at the end of the thing so that it doesn't get disturbed. I'm okay either way on that account. So let me start with the presentation. What all I'm going to cover. First thing first, I'm going to say what has really changed. And I think there are a lot of things that are changing on a daily basis. So I think India is no more a static kind of country it used to be. And by virtue of that, I must confess that the challenges are really increasing for everybody. Complications are also increasing for everybody. So I think it's not that internal. I mean. The independent directors and chair of audit committees can live very, very comfortably on that account. Previously, it used to be more like an honor to get invited. Now it is more like a responsible job that you have to take on when you enter the audit committee room on that account. So this is one. Then I think I will talk about what chair of ACB really expects, and that's where I was on the other side as chair, chief of internal audit, and I dealt with the chair of ACB. I had I had the privilege of working with the best of the best people like Mr. Sheshashai, Dr. Ashok Ganguly, Dr. Mashelkar. So a lot of big people were there on that particular side as chair of ACB. And I have dealt with them from the other side on that account. So it is a great pleasure, and great learning that came my way. Third point I will talk about is the strategic and execution expectations. What I'm expecting from internal auditors in audit committee. I will talk about it. Then at the same time, I will say what irritates audit committee chair. A lot of things which are, you know, people probably think that is the right way to deal with it. They are not good things to do it. So I will talk about it in that typical way. And then, of course, being in the Indian context, I have been on many boards, considering that I will tell you my relevant experience on that account. And at the end of the day, we will probably summarize what are the key takeaways on that account. So let me start with my presentation. And before we do that, I think why the bar has moved. That means what are the expectations that have changed when we talk about it on that account. See, previously, I still remember when I started my career at ICICI Bank, there was no concept like internal audit. I'm talking about ICICI Limited, earlier public financial institutions. Then, of course, I left and I rejoined again when ICICI became a big bank at that point of time. But at that time, there was nothing like that. People didn't know what questions to ask, what not to ask, and what exactly you have the authority or otherwise on that account. Now, what has happened is audit committee has been given something called audit committee charter, and you people as internal audit needs to take some portions out of that of assurance function into your fold, and you have to create your own audit committee, I mean internal audit charter. And that internal audit charter has to in fact match with the audit committee in terms of controls, assurance, and internal audit up to the T, so that there are no gaps between that. And I must say that previously chair of audit committee used to have only two or three people to whom he had to look out for. He used to look at internal auditor. He would look out for a statutory auditor. So these are the two important people he would look at it. Once in a way, he will look at CFO. And from these three people, he would find out whether the things are okay or not. And he will ask some questions which were not really, I would say, idea to quiz or anything, but to just get assurance on that account. But now today, the time has totally changed. You have different kind of CXOs positions that are created. You have chief internal auditor, no question about it. You have, the external auditor, which is the statutory auditor. You have the partner signing it. It's also like a equivalent of a CXO, though he's not part of your, company on that account. Then you have chief compliance officer, which is a great designation, which people are looking out for that. Now, under the new law, which is the DPDP Act, which is coming, you will also have something called data protection officer. It doesn't stop there. You will obviously keep on inviting IT auditors into your thing, and number of times chief of internal auditor may hire an external party. So accordingly, those people also will come in. So it will more like, it will become more like a orchestra of, I always say, like a Zubin Mehta's orchestra, where there are more than 100 artists. They are all coming with their own instrument, and they are all doing synchronized chaos, as I call it, which is called orchestra with the right kind of music going on. And at the same time, for me as chair of audit committee or even as an audit committee member, I had to look at that, I had to hear that music to find out, are there any discords, are there any discrepancies, are there any gaps on that account? Unless and until that happens, I will not be able to appreciate that music. And this is where, I always say audit committee has today become more like an orchestra program, or a complete, drama, as I call it, where they set people like chief internal auditor also is an integrated part. Everybody has to do their role, and then based on that, audit committee comes to a conclusion how the company is run with reference to controls, then with reference to processes, with reference to, I would say, any mistakes, how are they correcting it, what kind of information systems attacks that are cybersecurity attacks that are happening on that account. Now going forward, we'll also have to look at whether my data is getting out without I mean by way of illegal matter kind of things, because we will eventually end up paying huge penalties in case that happens on that account. So things is changing, scenario is changing, and now also I must say that considering that we are literally in what we call the artificial intelligence times, though I don't call that as a great kind of, AI time is yet to come. I believe this is just the beginning of that so-called AI world. We are only in the, progressive level of automation. And considering all that, unless and until audit or internal audit is highly automated, you will not be able to cope up with that particular part, which is a very critical things on that account. So why the bar has moved, and we will talk about it on that particular thing. And in that context, I must say increased regulatory scrutiny is happening. I must say that there are different kind of regulators today, starting from Companies Act, which is the MCA. We also have SEBI for the quoted companies, and also for the high dated quoted companies on that account. They keep on monitoring what Companies Act doesn't look at it. But it's not that company law doesn't look at it, but I think these people have taken on the special responsibility because they feel they are working for the small minor shareholder. So even a person who's just one holding one equity share, I think he's the person whose interest has needs to be protected. And I think in that context, regulators are very clear that you better pay attention there also. So indirectly, the audit committee is also told pay attention to them. And then obviously you people are all part of my, audit committee's connect. So by virtue of that, even internal audit has to look at everything, that you have to start looking, statutory auditor will look at everything. So I think a lot of things are happening. So increased regulatory scrutiny is happening. It doesn't stop there. Now a new concept has come in. Look at DPDP Act. I don't know how many of you are aware. First thing first, the changes that have happened there is DPDP Act says very clearly nobody will go behind bars. Nobody will get arrested, but everybody will be told to pay penalties for the data that is getting pilfered out of their control on that account. And that data, or rather that penalties, can go up to 250 crores. Now you must have seen at all points of time, and I don't think there is any bank today in India which has not paid penalties to, Reserve Bank of India. And by virtue of that, you will see if let's say DPDP Act board which will come in, if they are going to also play that tough kind of game, we will end up paying penalties also there, because the data is such enormous data. We really don't know how to monitor it. And today it is not just a question of managing data. There is also a new right that has been given to the owner of that data to say he can instruct today to say, please delete my data and confirm that you don't have anything of my knowledge, of my site to you on that account. And that is going to be a very difficult job, because as I can clearly see, I think keeping data is fine, but deleting data and ensuring it is done, then especially it might have happened that probably the data has already gone to somebody else. For instance, I can tell you my PAN number and my Aadhaar card is known all over the globe. I don't think there is somebody who can say, I would like to protect your this particular kind of information. It has not happened because it's already gone. So I really don't know how the new companies, or when the DPDP Act really becomes effective, which has become effective, I think soon, I think we will not know, whether data pilferaged has gone from your office or from your place or from your company, one doesn't know what it is on that account. So we are going to play a very, very critical role as internal auditors, because as audit committee member, I am going to tell internal audit guys, please, I call it in my typical English way, mount audit on this particular act. So if that is going to happen, you people will have to look around what exactly you can look at it, how you can protect data. So a lot of things will happen on that account. So increased regulatory scrutiny is happening. And additionally, I must say, reputation risk is becoming a big issue. And I think I don't want to talk too much because a lot of legal cases will start happening. The famous Indigo case, I think somebody said, 20 years, I think these people are 15 years, they are in existence, so they are doing fabulously well. After Jet Airways were scrapped, Indigo became the chief, I would say, transporter for most carrier for most of the people on that account. Apparently, their market share was something like 60 to 65%. And between them and Air India, they were holding something like 90% on that account. So there was almost like a, duopoly which was there. At the same time, people were preferring when you had to go in time and everything, they were recognizing Indigo as one of the best flair. And suddenly, in the month of December, I think just 22 hours, and in that 22 hours, they just lost their reputation. People started talking about, क्या होने वाला है, क्या करेंगे, why should we encourage these people to do the thing. So I think it takes one or two small things that you have to go down. What did Indico miss out? Very clearly, the seriousness with which they should have done the law adherence, which they did, but they did it at the cost of reducing their flights. At the same time, in terms of marketing, they kept on selling tickets on that account when they knew they will be canceling their tickets on that account. So when you knew a rostering rule is going to be made tougher, you should have paid attention to your recruitment. That was not done. So probably indirectly government or anybody might come to a conclusion, and people at large might come to a conclusion saying that, boss, they were probably not taking government seriously. They thought the rules will get relaxed the way it happens in our income tax returns filing. It starts with one date, then it becomes second date, then it becomes third date. So this is like that. Probably they thought that they never took it seriously, and suddenly they found their reputation, it's like a glass or it's more like a mirror, wo chur chur hoke. Just took us 1 or 2 days, people started screaming. And how much happened? In fact, they lost a lot of money. People were unable to find their return tickets back. They all stayed in hotels. These people had to pick up that expenses. A lot of people were given, transport arrangements. So reputational risk doesn't take long for somebody to come down immediately. It happened earlier. I think probably the old chartered account. Old is not that old, but people with a little more, longish memory will remember. Satyam had the same kind of problem. Satyam, in fact, got the best governance award on one day, and in next 7 days' time, there was no Satyam. And this is what happens to quite a few organizations. So previously, people were thinking, अगर बड़ा size है तो कुछ होता नहीं उसको. The big is bigger and big you can't change. But I don't think that's going to happen now. A lot of things are happening in that particular part. Third one is, I think today boards are judged on what they knew and when. So I think a person like me, I am now an independent director on that. Now currently I'm on 7 directors. I had to keep on looking out for what is really happening on regulatory scope, what is happening on the company's affairs on that account. And at the same time, we are told very clearly by SEBI, you are independent directors, means remain independent. Don't put your hands into the affairs of that particular thing, but through your nose, you keep on checking what is really happening on that particular part. So I think it becoming a very difficult kind of job where you should know everything, but unless you ask for it, you will not get it because you don't go to the office on a daily basis on that account. So boards just judged on what they knew and when. When something like big thing happens, people will say, hey, what the hell these directors were doing? What the heck this audit committee was doing? And I think this is a question that are happening right now in Indigo. Then quite a few times, this just now, one more thing that has happened is Multi-commodity exchange, I think, delayed their trading hours by 4 hours. They didn't know what exactly has happened and all. Apparently, now some sort of, people are asking what the heck board's members were doing it on that account. So a lot of things are happening on that front. So I think we are in totally, sensitized kind of social environment today. हमने कुछ छींक भी दी तो I think it becomes a news on that account. So I think that's why it is becoming very important that internal auditors are supposed to raise the bar, because they are the ones who are, as I call it, they are the eyes and ears of the audit committee on that account. So one more thing I must say is, under the law, very clearly it is said, and this is what is really very critical from our perspective, you must know, ignorance is no longer a defense. So people are now saying, if you don't know, it's tough luck to you. You should have known it. For instance, now, though I don't have, let's say, last 15 days, I didn't had a single meeting, but I know that I had to study a lot. Insurance authorities, IRDA, has come out with some sort of a new bill, or rather, they have not come. The government has passed some new bill. It has some effect on life insurance. So what it means, we'll have to study it. Similarly, I am on a mutual fund thing where SEBI has just come out with some new laws and regulations, which is right now not implemented, but they have something in principle they've approved at the board. So they will be implementing it. It has a lot of effect on that account. DPDP rules have come in on that account. So all those things I can't previously, I used to see a lot of audit committee members who would come into the office and they would ask, other colleagues, आपने पढ़ा है ना तो मेरे को पढ़ने का जरूरी नहीं है. But I think it's no more so. Everybody has to come well prepared, because you don't know how is your colleague is geared up. So I think better you understand the way you should have understood it. And for virtue of that, I think your, eyes and ears have to be open all throughout in life. So the bar has moved up and it will keep on going up. And today in life, I don't know how much really we are aware of it, but lot of information that is being achieved by us. We feel that we are, relying very heavily on this AI like Chat GPT and lot of those apps that we are doing it like a Gemini and everything. What happens is, the way you ask questions, you get your answers on that account. And I think some number of times I've seen some people telling me, and which I have checked it also in one or two cases, you also get the case studies. And you try to Google those case studies, and you will find those Google cases are not in existence. So what happens is, we are only giving wrong information to probably Chat GPT or these kind of apps. They take that into account and they reproduce it for you people. So I think it is necessary to see that whatever information we are giving is given rightly and correctly. And this is where, SEBI is expecting board members to play a very important role. And board, as usual, will give that responsibility towards audit committee to work on, which is essential, because now there's a new one more joker that has come in called related party transactions. In related party transactions, the government has said, or rather SEBI has said very clearly on that account, they are saying it is the responsibility of independent directors of the audit committee to decide who are the related parties. They have to decide whether those related party transactions are taken on omnibus approval, whether you are sure that that they are at what they call arm's length. That means they are at market value. And these are all the questions audit committee has to discuss, and that will get discussed and decided eventually by only independent directors. And now you have in audit committee, as you know, two-third people are majority on that account. So if we have, let's say, one non-independent director, then you will end up with some three people on your board, and only these three people will decide, who are all, independent director. They don't come on day-to-day basis to the organization. They decide the related party, they decide omnibus approval, and they keep on monitoring it. And also at the same time, number of time, they also look at, a lot of other things pertaining to the related parties, at arm's length, valuation, barabar kiya ki nahi, all those things you have to do it. So it is becoming a tough job. And this is where, in fact, wherever I am going now, I am telling my audit committee members to say, boy, you also have a look at internal audit, should also have a look at related party transactions very clearly. And similarly, going forward, I have also pushed a lot of responsibilities like cyber security and everything to those people. There is something called red teaming, which is required. Like, for instance, there are some typical IT related part yet you have to monitor it in cyber security. So I think that is where also, though IT takes the responsibility on that account, IT department, I am very clear that I'm requesting all the audit committee members to get themselves, audit committee means internal audit members, to get educated on that account and start working along with the people. I'm not saying work independently at this point of time, but work along with it so that we know what is really happening on that account. So those days of old, you can go have cookie, you can have nice cup of tea, or at the end of the day, you have some, entertainment. Those days are gone. Now people feel that, they are paid well, but at the same time, I must say, they are paid well. There is no free lunch. So a lot of responsible job they have to do. They have to certify a lot of things which they don't know number of times. They have to find out. And I will tell you, by and large, my thing is, for one audit committee meeting, I am meeting at least on a one-to-one meetings basis with the internal auditor, with external auditor, with compliance person, with risk management person. And additionally, if required, I also meet up with, the people in the business. And over and above that, we also have to meet, once a year with rating agencies, in fact, twice a year to rating agencies. Similarly, the banks number of times may ask you to come. Regulators may tell you to come, to ask you to come on that account. Of late, regulators are sending direct emails to everybody. So bar has to move, because I was called by RBI to represent a company where I was there. Of course, the MD was there, but I was supposed to answer everything on that account. And I must say that there is also an interview process that happens with some regulators, like National Housing Bank does that. They invite chief internal auditor of every company, and they call him up and speak about, his knowledge, to find out how he's monitoring it, how he's managing it. So bar has to go for you people also, if the bar for the audit committee has gone up. Shift in expectations. So I will talk about that also. I think I must say that earlier it was more like, compliance karo, and I'm okay with it. Now people are saying risk and resilience assurance I want. So compliance is a part of this packet on that account. So risk and resilience is absolutely necessary on that account. Similarly, we were always saying, आपके पास internal controls है कि नहीं, kind of thing. Now people are saying it is not just that. You must also tell me with the right kind of knowledge of business and behavioral insights. And this is where, things have changed totally. Previously, people would say, we looked at bank reconciliation statement, we looked at accounts, then we looked at processes. There is a process of, policies there. Then there are checklists. There is a strict adherence to it. It doesn't like that. Now, audit committee people are asking, भाई आप भी audit committee के जो member है, वो तो ठीक है. But at the same time, you are also supposed to know the business knowledge of that account. So now you tell me, has business suffered because of this particular part? That is one. Second one, tell me whether something better could have been done. Give me value add. Don't just tell me that this has happened on that account. So it's like now the time has come to say, आपने मेरे को दुख दिया है तो आप ही अभी दवा देना है. So internal auditor has to come out with both. And I think, there is one institute called the Institute of Internal Auditor, IIA. They had come out with something called, 3 lines of defense. Then after that, they said 3 lines. They are saying 3 lines model is what they saw for the audit committee, where they are saying, audit committee should be in the third line of defense. So he's at the last kind of thing he should come in. The first line of defense are the people from the business. The second line of the business are people like risk managers, lawyers, and accountants who should help them out on that account. The CFO should help him out. And third one will come audit committee. Now those days are over. According to me, the 3 lines of defense will soon become free lines of defense, for the simple reason you can't remain in your third line of defense to say, ये लोग कर रहे हैं, I'm just watching it. That role is no more there. So shift in expectations are coming in a very big way. कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. Independence is a state of mind. आपको business के साथ, you have to go with the business and get the work done very clearly. And when you come to the audit committee, don't tell me that you have a processes and policies. You tell me how you gelled with your business, what decisions you people have taken. Are you in sync with that? Are there any better opportunities to improve on that particular part? And how you will assure me that these things will not happen in future, which is a very critical part that I think people are asking it. So expectations have really, really gone up from everybody on that particular part of the things. So, what are we really expecting from auditors? First is eyes and ears of the board. And I think this is a very famous story. Always been people have been saying, people were saying, you will be bloody hound and you will be, today something else. But I can tell you today, you are the ones who have to pay attention to the affairs of the company, look at it as a matured businessman, though you don't run the business, how we are doing it, how better we are doing it. Get into that particular thing on that account and tell us more about how business is getting ready to work towards their own, I would say, inefficiencies or process lapses or something like that. How are they taking it? What kind of culture they are building it in on this particular part? How are we preventing further losses? How are we optimizing our resources? And these are all important points that we have to look at it on that account. So you are now becoming eyes and ears in real sense. And I always say it's not far off. These eyes and ears of the board will soon become equivalent of, you will become a robo equivalent to the audit committee member. So I think I will have to punch in data to you people to say, give me this, give me that. You will give it to me immediately. So those days will be over when we are saying, our audit planning is yet to come. We will do that audit plan. ये quarter में ये करेंगे, वो quarter में वो करेंगे. So now audit committee is telling all of you guys, don't do that. Pay attention to what is really is the, where the right now attention has to be paid. Don't tell us when the incident is over to say चार आदमी मर गए, पांच आदमी घायल हो गया. The way this newspaper advertisement comes or news comes, don't give it to us that. Be there, tell us what you are doing it at that point of time and work on it. So eyes and ears of the board, that means you are now concurrently being made available. So those days are not far off. People will be expecting you to give a flash report immediately on even smaller matters. Previously, people were always saying for big matters, we believe in it. It is not like that on that account. For instance, anything that happens on trade related part, the tariff related part, or anything that happens with any accidents or anything that are unforeseen on that particular part, auditors, internal auditors have to gel with these people. They can't take a view to say, अरे यार मेरा audit plan में ये तो fourth quarter में है तो वो बाद में करूंगा. By that time, we may not remain an going concern, and this is a very critical part on that account. Next one, and which is a very important point, and this is where your automation has to come in. There is something called EWS, which is the early warning signals. You have to start building around you. What are the information that you are getting it, how it will impact you on that particular part. And these are all critical things that you have to look at it. Like, for instance, you may hear from the newspaper or you may hear from the government that something else will come your way, which might hurt the company badly. It could be the supply chain related part, it could be marketing related part, it could be GST related part. Certainly, business will look at how I can reduce GST outgoes. But then or internal auditor will rely on that particular efforts and leave it that particularly to the business. But internally, he will look at it. How competent are we to make any changes if required on that account? So number of times laws will make you do more with less kind of expenses on that account. So we have to start working on that typical way, which is a very critical part that you have to look at it on that particular part. So I think time has come for us to create right kind of early warning signals. And as you know, we can't create these early warning signals unless we are fully automated, we are fully digitalized, we are connected with the entire, I call auditable universe, and then we know on a day-to-day basis what is happening. So unless and until you are going to have your own, I would say, concurrent audit equivalent or some sort of a surveillance company, I mean, department in your thing where you know what is really happening, this will not happen. For instance, there are people who are told that, for instance, RBI inspection has come or some sort of a thing has come. You must know what is happening, what questions are being asked, so that you are getting ready for the future on that account. So early warning signals are very important on that account. I think if you are asking me, it's not far off. You will see internal auditors creating under artificial intelligence now bots which will start answering all questions. And if you are asking me what are my expectations, I say give me a bot who on whom I can keep on asking a lot of questions the way I want, and he gives me answers for everything. For instance, today, if you ask Chat GPT, whatever information that is in the domain, he gives it to you. I think I require equivalent of Chat GPT from my internal auditors, and this is where you have to give it in time, you have to give it in quality. It should be integrity-wise authentic. These are the three important points you have to work on it. So that means you require a perfect information, which is critical. Third one, and this is where I always say courage to speak uncomfortable truths. And this is where, most of the people, and I don't want to say too much about it, but all those companies where there were challenges and suddenly out of the blue, it has come a newspaper thing. Like, for instance, it happened in Indigo. Prior to that, it happened with Satyam. It happened with ILFS here. These are the Indian thing I'm talking about. A lot of other things have happened all over the world on that account. I think even in banks, a lot of things happen. So it doesn't happen, or suddenly like that. So it is not that anything happens immediately. It is gets accumulated over a period of time, and over a period of, I would say, 2 or 3 months, you realize something else is going to happen. And this is where early warning signals, you should work very, very sharply, and then you should have the courage to speak uncomfortable truths, which is a very critical part of that account. Number of times a small thing which could have been brought into attention properly could have saved a lot of efforts at later stage and expenses, but people don't think about it. And then after the incident had happened, there are many cheeky people who will say, I knew it, but I mean, the boss was not in listening mode. वो हमारा कौन सुनेगा. So a lot of those case studies are available. There is a great case study called Pinto car of Ford Motor, which you can look at it. You can even see what happened to Axis Bank earlier, not now. So after that, a lot of changes that have happened. But what I'm saying is, and ILFS is again a great story. If you do search on ILFS, you will realize on that account, had somebody raised a point earlier, and that is where early warning signs and courage to speak uncomfortable truths, if both the things had come together, I think we could have saved a lot of companies, and lot of jobs could have been saved, a lot of profession could have saved there. I would say honorable exit they could have got. So this is where I come from on that account. So I think I always, as a chair of audit committee, tell them, tell us early, not after damage is done. And this is where, if you, after the damage is done, frankly speaking, then there is no news. We are aware of it. So it really doesn't happen. So early warning signals and courage to speak is very critical on that account. And there are opportunities for audit committee members, internal auditors, to deal with in audit committee, because now it is mandatory for audit committee to meet internal auditor at least once a year, if not on a quarterly basis. But most of the good companies, like where I am on boards, we meet them 4 times in a year very clearly. Idea is we ask them how comfortable are they in the organization. Do they get your information on that account? Do you have independence? Is somebody putting pressure on you to give a wrong thing? We will talk about those case studies which I have at later stage. We will work on that particular thing. Anup, if you are there, I just want to know, am I going in the right speed and right matter, or you want me to do some course correction?
No, sir. No, sir. I think we are good.
Yeah.
And I do not see any requirements which says that we have to change something from the
Okay.
audience as well. So we are totally
Okay.
good.
So I will go ahead with it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Now, what are the strategic expectations and what exactly risk-based auditing or risk-based planning that you have to do on that account. Now, our institute also come out with it. Incidentally, I was the one who came out for the banks. We created risk-based audit planning document for the banks, and that we created way back in 2004 or 2003 kind of thing. Even till I would say a year back, it was the regular one, and today also they have made some changes, but it remains the same. It's a refresh that they have made on that account. So strategic expectations on that, we will talk about it. So auditors now, previously they would say, I want to do sales, I want to do purchase, I want to do manufacturing, I want to do plant, I will go overseas to look at your chief operations officer. Now those things are things of the past. Now what you require is, you need to really work on, you must know what is the strategy of the company, what is the risk appetite of the company. And risk appetite is something, it is like what company is capable of within their norms to work on that particular part. What they will not do, you must know on that account. So you have to align yourself with that, get yourself ready to work with the business very clearly, positively. Previously, people would say, I will lose my independence and all. Kuch hota nahi hai. Independence is a state of mind. You can work in the same organization, you can work independently on that account. Like for instance, how water is made, there is H and there is O, and all of them are together when they make a water. So I think you are making more like a water, which is the Jivan, as I call it, which is the, you have to live for that particular thing. So H2O, as I call it, H is more of business and O is you. All of you have to make nice drinkable water. And that is what, strategy and risk appetite is very critical, that you have to look at it from that perspective. Next one is dynamic audit plans. And this is something I can tell you, time has come for us to keep on changing our audit plans. And people, I have done it during my time as well. I still remember 2008. First half, everything was gung everything is going great and all of the thing. Then that Lehman Brothers and everything happened in 2009. And after that, in next 6 months, we were all on, how I can close the wrap up this, how I can stop my uh, projects, how I can delay my projects, how I can borrow more money, how I can take, supply chain credits. So all those things started happening. So with that, strategy underwent a change. With that, your risk appetite underwent a change. And by virtue of that, you can't keep on carrying old audit plans which are obsolete and which are not a priority. So what is priority? That's what you had to look at it on that account. For instance, during COVID times, we found our suppliers closed down. Our China operations, China procurements almost came to a zero on that account. So companies which were, in fact, only dependent on China suffered very heavily on that account. Similarly, the movement stopped by virtue of that. People, the concept now today, everybody's talking with very leisurely thing, work from home was not known to anybody. I still remember I was on one of the fashion board company, which I still continue. My chairman telling me, "Arey bhai, people like to come to your, stores to buy the material because they want to see the material and all." When COVID happened, when the mall almost closed, I mean, people bought materials on marketplace. That is the, I would say the electronic platform. So by virtue of that, we were forced to change ourselves. Now, our traditional audit had to undergo change, because if you have to look at e-trading, you have to look at e-transaction that are happening. You are looking at B2C and B2B business. I think you require to change your audit plans very clearly. So suddenly you found what was happening with, we were dealing with a franchisee. So it was B2B kind of business. Suddenly it became B2C. So what it means became a very important point. And then I always say coverage of emerging risks started happening. Now, for instance, today, if you are asking me if I'm an insurance company, I know DPDP Act is bringing in a lot of changes. How that, what kind of GST related withdrawals are happening. New act is coming in. Your accounting standard is undergoing a change in insurance. Similarly, this mutual fund is also under tremendous changes on that account. Bankers are also being told to do the things on that account. And then comes the external parties. where, the tariff rates and everything, you have to keep on changing where you will export. A lot of people have moved to the other countries where the relatively you can sell your thing on that account. So a lot of things are happening. People are reverting back to China, but they are also at the same time very cautious about looking at it that it is not just China but China plus one. Why there? Even otherwise, people are saying let's look at some multiple resources across the globe and let's not rely on one geography, one location on that account. So like that, lot of things are happening. So it is important for you to understand that this is what is going to happen. And if you are under that impression that this is a temporary phenomena, let me tell you, it is not. This will happen. In fact, the frequency will increase much. Time will come when some people will take a conclusion. I want to create a revolving audit plan where I will only look at this quarter. The next 3 quarters, I will keep on, refreshing it to take care of the risks that are emerging. And risks will also undergo change. They will create the right kind of dashboards where you will know this is red. That means there is something happened there. And accordingly, you will concentrate there. So the audit is changing its role very clearly. And people are seeing to it that you have to get value for whatever you people are doing it, which is very critical on that account. Let's put it this way, that if you want to survive in auditor's job today, previously people were saying, there is something called business, something called internal audit. And internal audit has nothing to do with business. And this is where people were shifting like a commodity from as an internal auditor. I have been one of the examples of that particular part. I moved from banking, I moved to retail business. From there, I moved to manufacturing companies. And then I also was part of one of the airport things as an advisor on that account. So I moved from industry to industry comfortably on that account. But if you think I did that comfortably, it is not, because each and every business, you must understand there is something called internal audit knowledge and there is something called business knowledge. Previously, I would say 10 or 20% of the business knowledge was good enough for a chartered accountant to survive with 80% knowledge of, this internal audit standards, whether our Institute of Chartered Accountant or any other thing on that account. But now time has come that that particular thing is changing totally. Now you need 80% of the business knowledge and 20% of the internal audit knowledge. And that why this is reduced, because internal audit, you are expected to do automation of that particular part. So gone are those days when you can say, I am an internal auditor. I think now you should know you are also equivalent of a next level business. So you must know what are our targets, what are our budgets, where are we making money, where are we losing money, what can be done to change, I would say reduce our cost, what can be done by increasing the top line, how we can increase on that account, and doesn't just know how to do it, but what is happening. You must meet up with the people who are business minded, people who are running the business on a regular basis. Previously, what was happening, our auditors will go after we have found out a lot of points and you will go and discuss with him, and then he will tell you the story which is 1 year old story or 4 or 5 months old story, because he has already met with that particular thing. So he will try to explain to you, justify that, and based on that, you will create audit report. Today, now that is all stale. It is like old bhajiyas. It is not even crisp bhajiyas. So you have to ensure that you are giving exact information on a, I would say, quarter to quarter basis, which is very critical on that particular part. So what exactly you have to understand, you must know revenue and margin drivers. Revenue means you must know what helps you increasing the top line, what helps you net of tax, what is your net line, also net top line as I call it. You must know also expenses pickup. You must know which are the margin drivers for each and every product, each and every geography, each and every company. If you are in that parent company, then you must know your subsidiary companies also what is happening. So I think internal audit is supposed to know all these particular point. What? Not on a, I will get you information, but in the audit committee, you should be ready with that information. Anybody asking you, Are, what are the 4 top states in which we are working? I think you should have the answer. You can't say, I will get back to you. your information or your impression about you will go down immediately if you do this particular part. So you better manage this particular thing very nicely. Otherwise, people will think ये कुछ काम का आदमी नहीं है. They will change that particular person immediately. So be careful about what I'm saying. You must know business very well. You must know what is the revenue and margin kind of things. Doesn't stop there. You must know also what is the incentives and what is the behavior of customer. Who are the customers? Who are your customers who are giving you more business? You must know incentives. What exactly you have to give also is very important on that account. And the third one, which is very clear, is business pressures. So how government new rules will hurt you, how competitors play or competitors new product will help you hurt you. These are all part you have to look at it. You have to also see what is happening globally. So I think you are going to be as good as any other person who's running the business. You must know your company's products well. You must know your geography of that account. You must know what is happening in your HR side. So I think audit is the only department other than MD's secretarial or MD's office, as they call it, or chairman's office, as we call it. Other than that, it is the only audit, uh, internal audit department which gives you an overall eyesight of everything, overall 360 view of this particular part. Take that advantage. You are sitting on pretty good information that you use it for the betterment on that account. So, which is very important on that account. And I always say that when I ask questions, and that is what I always say, I pick up, and I have written it in red. I always pick up some red flags. If auditors who know standards, but they don't know business, previously I would say, ठीक है, business तो वो सीख जाएगा, 10% मालूम है तो 90% और करेगा. It's not going to be sufficient now. Today, you are supposed to be knowing your internal audit knowledge, which I give only not more than 10 to 15%. I'm expecting you guys to come back to me with a business sense to find out what is happening. You must know if you are a service provider, let's say in banking, you must know which products are selling well. You must know in and out of what are secured products, unsecured products. You must know also what are the things that you can sell it on the thing. You must know KYC. You must know anti-money laundering related part. You must know also cybersecurity related part. All these things you must know from a business perspective, and not I have found these things out at later stage. It is not going to help you on that account. So now I think time for you to change. And I think most of you have changed. I'm not saying do. Now people are looking at fewer but deeper audits. So now I think you should come out with what I call business reviews rather than, come out with, we found policies are missing. We found somewhere there is a gap. Some automation is happening. It will take some 4 or 5 months. Till that time, we are doing manual checks, controls and checks and balances. Those are all things that, previously old internal auditors were using it. Now time has come for us to look at fewer but deeper audits, go deep into it, get the root cause analysis, find out what has found wrong, find out what business knew, how much they have done. And in fact, today the best practice that has happened is internal auditors also bring it to the notice what business has done. So by virtue of that, business also gets a comfortable kind of platform to use audit committee members, because number of times they require more resources, number of times they require more automation, they require more budgets. So I think you should work from that perspective to get right kind of thing, but don't get become a political his master's voice, as I call it. HMV company used to put that dog in front of that. Don't become like that. Work on that right on that account, and then you will not be able to go deep unless you decide to come with what I call root cause focus. So RCAs, root cause analysis, is something which is absolutely necessary. And I think you must know. And I think time has come for you guys to tell us what exactly, the root cause analysis and what has really happened. I have seen so many people telling stories otherwise. Sir, this is what has happened. 5 years back, we had thought about it. It doesn't help me. Today, tell me what is the root cause analysis. And this is a very important point, and put it from a systematic issues. And Don't put minor observations. I've seen so many people putting some, it is like, क्या बोलते हैं वो, कुत्तों के सामने वो कुछ ऐसे बिस्किट डालते हैं, वैसे आप ऑडिट कमिटी में मत करिए. And your audit report should not behaving like a मूंगफली being thrown in front of monkeys. We are not monkeys. Please remember this. You people will undergo change if you don't give us that information, which is very critical on that account. So time has come for us to look at systematic issues and don't pay attention to minor observations. These minor observations connected together come to some sort of a proper root cause analysis and tell that we want to do this further. People will be very happy in audit committee members. Otherwise, they will say, "यार तुम मेरे को छोटा छोटा चीज दे रहे हो." I mean, it is like equivalent of that Ghana. मैं रास्ते से जा रहा था, भेलपुरी खा रहा था. It doesn't help me on that account. I've seen so many times audit reports are so junky. People say, we went, then we found, cash was little less, then we do that particular part. Then somebody will say, this process is not there. Then somebody will say that policy was not there. It doesn't help. What has really gone wrong? What exactly you are supposed to do from business perspective, tell us. And I think your audit report should also now start working on what could be done better for the business perspective to increase the top line and to increase the bottom line. I think these kind of things, if you start thinking now, it will really come in very handy for you people on that account. Let's move on to the site of maturity, as I call it, the next level. You have to come to judgments. And this is where judgments mean the opinions. A senior person's opinion is what I'm expecting in audit committee. I've seen so many times audit committee members behaving like a child. I don't want to say child, but a middle level executive. He comes and tells us, sir, we went, we want to do the thing. We didn't get data, then we fought, then we got the data and all of the thing. And they take it as if it's a victory mark, victory mark kind of thing. It's not right way to look at it. I think you have to take it for granted. You are a senior member of the team. You better sit down with your business guys and come to a conclusion what has gone wrong, what could be done better, what are the budgets that you require, by what timelines you will do it, and which are the parties which are responsible, and never take responsibility single-handedly. And at the same time, take on responsibility, because I've seen number of times auditors telling, sir, this R&D department will do, sir, this manufacturing department will do. Doesn't help. You have to say, my one person also will be working with you, and start doing that. That is where audit will become far more useful. And if you start telling that my 1%, 2% will work, and we agree, indirectly, it means you can recruit more people for that. And this is how you have to go about it in life. Otherwise, you will not create your own, value proposition, which is very critical on that account. So judgments over checklists, what I mean is, technically compliant but risky. It's like, you are putting it in a different fashion. It really doesn't work on that account. You can say it is legal, but unethical. So you should have that particular part. Number of times people say it is technically compliant, but you should have the courage to say it is still risky, and what you require to do the things for which you require product knowledge, for which you require sales knowledge. You should know the market, you should know the price movements, and these are all important points. You should know it. So you should have that business acumen, which is important in audit. Now, these are gone when you are just thinking it from an internal auditor kind of thing. And there are a lot of things which are maybe legal but unethical. For instance, I think I should not talk too much, but I think if you look at Indigo, what did they do? They didn't do anything illegal. They never broke the rule. They knew that roster time, that the changeover time for the pilot is extended. Despite that, they continued with their old schedule. They didn't recruit more people, which was required on that account. So all those things, they didn't do anything illegal, but it was not right for the simple reason customers were not informed. They kept on taking the bookings. They kept on, they knew that this was something which, if the government law doesn't undergo change, they will have a problem. And they never ever told this to the customers. It didn't stop there. Even their employees, for all said and done, they had to face the wrath of all these, customers. Can you believe if somebody was your, employee of that was your relative, and somebody who's a traveler there on the thing, they happen to be brother and brother, what they will do on that account. One brother doesn't know what to explain. The second brother is in trouble. He doesn't know what to do with it. So like that, it was happening, which was not correct on that account. And, I think passing audit, but failing governance is again one big thing that happens with lot of time. You come out with a great report. Report says, everything is honky-dory. There are no challenges. People are all conscious of it. They are all working on it. I've seen some audits, and then suddenly some fraud happens or some sort of a big challenges that happen. Now, for instance, I don't know if I had completed an audit of rostering and of in one of this airline agency, and then probably after that I've said everything is honky dory, and then we realized that we didn't properly pay attention to the incoming rule that will come up, then I think we are not right in doing that particular thing. So this is where I think you have to come to the judgments over checklist, which is very critical on that account. So now I think we have to move to the some of the case studies that I have looked at on that account. And this is what I always say, scenario one, you will see a lot of time I talked to you just now. There's a clean report you get, but reality is very dirty. What happens is, you give them satisfactory audit rating. This happens in branch rating. Number of times people go and rate them AAA company, a AAA class. And they come back, and after 1 month, they found that there's some big fraud that has happened in that branch. Similarly, major fraud, that's what I talked about. So what exactly does that mean? Internal auditors have missed out somewhere something. What is that? Means there is no great kind of concentration around. We have to look at not only the lapses, but what could happen by way of lapses, what kind of automation are happening, what kind of controls and checks and balances are there at the headquarters to look at this particular thing. These are all points that you have to start looking at it, rather than giving me a clean report and then realities will come out at later. And number of times auditors are also aware. They find that the business guys are not responding the way they should be responding, but they don't tell this to us because they feel it more like a defeat. मैं बोला तो I will look like a weak party, and by virtue of that they don't tell us, and that eventually happens. And at later stage, if you ask, he says, "Yeah, sir, we had also realized it, but sir, but this, sir," that kind of thing happens, which is not correct on that account. Second one I will talk about is management pushback. And this is where according to me, it's a very serious governance issue. I think there is always a pressure to soften language, which is also okay with me. So far, the facts are coming out. And I think those facts, there is a method through which people do. Number of times, internal auditors informs in a very structured fashion to the chief of internal audit that though I have softly worded this particular part, I'm not very comfortable with it. So if you could do that also, then audit committee members can start quizzing that question further so that message goes across. But I always believe that if you are showing such a big character, your independence is affected. And that's why I always believe who does internal audit protect becomes an important point. You have to protect certainly yourself. You have to protect certainly your business. You have to certainly protect your management. And you have to also certainly protect audit committee members and in turn to the board. And it doesn't stop there. The entire stakeholders are looking forward to you like a shareholders and everything. So when you are writing, you are not doing right thing. You are an integrated part of that failure. And I think though you may say, I was not officially part of it, I think that is what I say. You may be ethically wrong, though legally you may be right. So I think you have to be very, very, paranoid about this particular part, and you have to take that into account. And that's why whenever I meet the audit committee, this chief internal auditor, I generally ask 3 or 4 questions and get it noted. And these are the thing I don't ask it just to please myself, but I'm happy to confront with anybody on that account. I ask them, how independent are you? Are you is anybody else putting pressure on you? Number 3, is there something which you have not told me, which is very critical, and later stage it may become a big issue. I think these are the 3 or 4 questions I ask, and I get that thing minuted in the audit committee one-on-one meetings. So that helps, and I'm happy. And it has happened to 1 or 2 cases where people have told me that there are problems. I have either organized their right kind of skill sets, I have given them right kind of budgets by asking from the board, and number of times we have also told business to buck up because of this particular part. At that point of time, I don't have to say who gave me this information. I said, please work on this particular part. So people know that Matches has gone very clearly on that account. This is very critical from that perspective. Scenario 3 we will talk about, and this is happening everywhere on that account. And I'm more worried on this particular part because if you are not going to get, it starts with audit committee agenda. If you are not going to get your audit committee agenda well in time, 2 things that are happening: either the management is inefficient or they don't want to give you that information in time, because आप ज्यादा पढ़ेंगे तो आप ज्यादा सवाल पूछेंगे. So I think anybody does these kind of things is very bad. And what I generally do is I insist on, I don't ask for 7 days. I say, other than accounts, I require 3 clear days to work on. And 3 clear days doesn't mean give me late in the night for an early morning meeting, because those 2 days gone off. So I always say, give me full 3 days work to work with, and I'm happy to deal with anybody. And incidentally, of late, our reports, the pages go so much that number of times they turn into 4 pages, 4 word, more than 1,000 also number of times. So you have to see to it that you give right kind of respect to the audit committee members, and your agenda should come there very clearly. And what is important is basically you do it in such a way, and I have seen number of times it happens. I have, of course, fathomed it out. I have a different perspective. I always read agenda from down to up, because number of times important things are kept later in the day, and good points and very easy to understand are given in the first one. So when I get my agenda, I always read the other way around so that I know the sensitivities around that particular point. And love an audit committee member always giving me a red flagging. He always says, he writes either in italics or in bold or something like that. So I go through that particular part and I understand this is something you have to look at it on that account, which is very important. But what I don't like is the delayed escalation, and number of times there is an implied escalation, in the sense audit committee, internal auditor doesn't even talk to you. And that particular matter is there, which he calls it as an escalation. But if that matter is very important, I think you have to tell suo motu from your side rather than audit committee member asking you on that account. So that becomes a very important matter. And I think also third one, as I always say, it's like eating bhajiyas. Timing matters. If you are going to eat bhajiyas after they have, become soggy, it doesn't have any great taste. So audit committee reports should be more like a bhajia. They should be crisp and they should be tasty, which is very important on that account. And tasty doesn't mean tasty just for the sake of creation, but it should give the right context of the matter and right kind of things on that particular part. So please remember that nobody likes, as I call it, late reports coming in, which creates problem on that account. And I'm very clear, and this happens with most of the good internal auditors. You will find that I will not tolerate this. If there is a problem, I postpone that to the next audit committee and get more details on that account. So that's what I do on that account. And I think this is a very critical part you have to understand. And I always believe that agenda should go. And one more thing that we generally take stock, and please remember, you also should see, there is something called nature of information that comes, or this is sent to the audit committee. There is something called pull effect and there is something called push effect. Pull effect is that where audit committee member is asking for information and then you give it to him. And push information is without audit committee member asking, you push the data. According to me, the second part is better, because that means you are giving the right kind of transparency, right kind of governance messages to people, and you are giving right kind of things on that account. So this is a very critical part that you have to understand from that perspective. Next one, And this is where I'm saying, and this is the slide which I have prepared based on my information. What irritates audit committee chair? One, green dashboards everywhere. You will see, they will show you executive summary where nothing red is shown. Everywhere it is very, very cool. Even internal audit observations you give, there are no critical information. Everything comes in number two category and three kind of categories. I feel that if anybody gives it, the audit committee understands the level of independence of that auditor. Though they may not say that particular part, they start losing confidence in that person. And this is where you had to work very well on what kind of report comes in. If there is something red, you must mark that as a red. Don't try to please the management, because management will forget you after that purpose is served, and you will be creating that particular thing having told these people very clearly that it is honky dory, dashboards are green. You will equally be held accountable for that particular part, which is very critical. Another one is overloaded reports. My God, number of times for some small matter which has to be conveyed, people write a lot of big information. It is like, it becomes more like a storytelling note rather than really working on that particular part. So you have to be very careful about that particular thing. See to it that you get the crisp information. In fact, there are some good companies which we believes that if you can't give me a proposal of not more than 2 pages, I think that proposal is not required to come. And this is where I think overloaded reports is mockery, I feel, towards the audit committee members if we are looking at it on that account. Third one is a repeated issues. And this is where audit committee members, I mean, internal auditors should not take pleasure to say this is a repeated issue. Indirectly, it means आपने जो किया है, people have agreed for it, they don't follow it, and you are forced to come back to the audit committee to say ये same issue वापस हुआ है. If you are telling an audit committee that we found X and now we have automated it, we have created right kind of maker checker, then that issue should not come at all. If it comes, it is a collective failure of the company, including audit committee, I mean, including the internal auditors, that matter has come, which is very, very, I would say, irritable to the audit committee members. Every time you are saying repeated issues, that means आप लिखते जाएंगे, business will say we will work on it. It is like, a person who doesn't want to listen, doesn't want to change. Both the things will happen, and it will come to the audit committee to say, it is coming as repeated issue. Sir, last time also we had done, then we thought we will give it to them. Again, the same thing has happened. So I say, hota rahega, so you will start losing confidence. You will soon get replaced. That much I can tell you on that account. And last, which is very critical, is there is a tendency amongst people to give a late bad news. And it is like number of time just before audit committee this thing, people can just give that more like, by the way, abhi aaya hai kind of thing will happen. And this will not be good from our perspective on that account. So I think please see to it that no bad news come such at bad time, that it is like, it irritates a person on that particular part. A number of times it happens that number of times, you give a very, I would say, vegetarian kind of observation. That means a very mild observation. And then while saying and giving the data, you realize it is not as simple as that is. So at that time, suddenly audit committee members start getting worried about it. That means आप बोल रहे हैं कुछ नहीं है, but at the same time आपने बोला है वहां पे ये हुआ है वो है kind of thing. People start losing confidence. That may turn out to be your downturn of your career, because I think you have to understand that you are not just working for one organization, you are working for yourself. You have something like up to the age of 60 to work on. You will be respected by the people only if you demonstrate your ability as internal auditor, which is critical. And I am saying this is because what I was, I will tell you, my own old audit committee members who were there are the ones who have recommended my names to some of the companies. Because of that, I have landed in those companies. So they said that guy was frank, he understood the thing, he knew the business, and he has always told us in times he's the right person to go on the other side as chair of audit committee. So please understand, these are all important points that you have to work on that particular part. Let's go to the next one. What are the reporting expectations? And as I said, simple things. I want crisp summaries. I don't want more than 1 page or at best 2 pages on any matter on that account. If let's say the report goes into some 30, 40, 50 pages and you want to give it because sometimes the regulator demands that you have to give it, you can take that report, but very clearly summary should be a mirror image of the report, but in a very concise and small kind of things on that account. And you should talk about what has happened, how we noticed, what was the matter, what are the mitigants that we are working on that particular part, and how it will we do, how confident are we to complete that particular part. So this crisp summary is like how newspaper give that information is very critical on that account, but you should give that particular part. And you can mention some of the things saying that, for instance, on this page so and so it gives the crisp summary of so and so amount, but give that amount in the crisp summary. That works well on that account. Number two, it should give clear risk impact. Otherwise, what happens is number of times it is put it in a very awkward fashion. It's like, writing about a road that is made. You can write in that, there are 8 curves, which are sharp curves. And then there are also sudden, downfalls in the sense downturn. The ramps equivalent kind of things are there around that particular thing. So you will write like this, but you will never say that it can become an accident prone area. So by writing this kind of clear risk impact, what I mean is you should tell what will happen rather than giving, ye aisa hai, vaisa hai, and then you can say sometimes somebody may slip, somebody may do that. It doesn't help on that account. You should be very clearly writing that particular thing. What are the clear risk impact? And this is where you have to put it in. And don't forget, there is something called accountability. You have to hold somebody accountable. And I have seen number of times in audit committee, people say, payment departments is looking at it. Payment departments like a government department. You can't put it in that typical way. According to me, you should have right kind of accountability of the person who is doing it with his department being shown and the timelines, which is very critical. And doesn't stop there. You have to come out with what we call the action tracker. You require those action tracker to be maintained, and you should confidently tell audit committee that we will complete this till that time, we will chase this matter. And I think that kind of matter is very critical. Over and above that, now it's a good practice also to take the matters which are talked by statutory auditors in their meeting, what they feel is a necessity to improve your own processes have to be had to be owned by internal audit department. And this is what I insist on that particular part. So very clearly, this is very critical on that particular thing. Then let's put it this way. It's certainly not an easy task to become the chief of internal audit. But at the same time, there are a lot of ways and means through which you can make yourself comfortable. First is there is something called direct access to the AC chair. Under the law, now you are supposed to meet the chief of audit and also the entire audit committee at least once a year. So I think this is more like, a great time to be with your person who can decide your fate. And I think this is a very critical part you must know, that in that meeting, go with a positive framework of mind. Don't go in a negative framework of mind. So you have to come out with a very clear and confident way of looking at it. You must sound very positive. You must sound very confident. And you must come with the right kind of preparations of that account. I think this is where I always believe storytelling in limited things is okay. But when you are meeting somebody one-on-one, I think you should come out as if how you are talking to your own person. They are more like, your mentors. They are more like your advice. So you tell them what are your challenges, how to work on it, how to do it. You will start getting a lot of inputs from them saying that ye karo, wo karo. So they will become your mentors, which will keep you in good state and health. So work on that particular part. Second one is independence of mind, and I always believe this is a very critical part. If you exhibit your independence, you are considered as a thorough professional, and this helps you throughout your career. Number of times people think only from a short-term perspective and they lose their independence. Once you start losing your independence, it is like, we say, इज्जत गई तो गई, वो हौद से नहीं आएगी. This is what Akbar and Birbal story. Always remember this particular part, that if you lose this, howsoever charitable work you do afterwards, it doesn't help. That charitable work will help you in protecting your own egos, but people will not forget what you have done by way of losing your independence of mind, and people will start remembering this forever in that particular thing. And third one, which is very critical, is early escalation, which is damn important. Nobody likes a hot potato in their hand. So don't come with hot water potato. Don't come with unannounced or undecided or undeclared information in the audit committee. Don't give surprises to people. Nobody likes surprises in that regard, which is very, very critical from that perspective. So I think I will take a little, I would say, 1 minute thing. Anup, you have to tell me, am I on the right thing, or are there any questions or anything from people, or they are uncomfortable?
Yes, sir. Sir, I think there are a few questions that you can take if you're okay with it.
You want to take right now?
Yes, sir. I think those are kind of related to the topic that we discussed. So I think it will be better
Yeah,
if we take it
sure,
right
sure.
now.
Why don't we do that right now so we can work on that? I'm happy.
Sure, sir. Sure. Sir, so the latest question was how internal auditor should present audit observations to the audit committee. So I think this is a simple question that we have, but yeah.
Yeah. No, so I think I told you what you should do is, first of all, you must tell that you are covering the entire audit universe. You are looking at it. Number one. You must also demonstrate how are you doing it in terms of your own team. So you must meet up with your team with the audit committee. If you have not done that, you have failed in your duty. Number three, you have to also see what kind of automation you are doing it. So if you do automation, it gives more confidence on that account. And fourth, you come out with a law, come out with a methodology which chairman of audit committee will decide how to work on that particular part. I have seen some chair of audit committee telling me, give me entire details, give me your entire audit report, give me all your working papers, I want to read it. And there are some other extreme chair of audit committee will say, 5 मिनट में मेरे को बोलो बाबू एक पेज में क्या है important. So there are two different kind of people. So I always say in Sanskrit, यथा राजा तथा प्रजा. आपके जैसे राजा है, accordingly you should work out with your report and go by what they want. The general good practice is every I would say audit observation is classified into 3 or if not 4: extremely critical, important, or rather extremely critical, then only you can say critical, high impact. Third one, you can say medium impact and low impact. And low impact need not come to the audit committee. If you have the first two categories going, you don't require even medium impact. Lower impact coming in, medium impact also need not come. Then you only have to give critical and highly critical areas. And you can say for the other ones, you give that by way of an executive summary to say these are all matters under control. We will do it on that account. So Anup, this is what the answer is. Anything else, Anup?
Yes, thank you so for this. There is one other question. Internal auditor as an employee, how can we deviate from opinion of management outright and then report it? So will it not lead to the dispute? This is the question that we have.
Yeah, so it's a good question. This is where, you are independent, the reporting to the audit committee. Under the law, an internal audit committee member, a chief internal auditor reports to the audit committee members. That is one. Number two, everybody, including audit committee members, are aware. It is like, I always say, any meetings of audit committee is like a game of chess. So there is something like, you have a pawns, you have a king, you have everything on that account on the chessboard. but after the chessboard is over, all of them go into the same box. So I know that all internal auditors are working closely with the management. But this is where I think internal auditor need to say, I am representing the organization. And I always believe that if your information and your observations are good enough, people accept it on that account. They may not give credit to you, but they will accept it. And I always believe if you are doing that, your independence will not get impaired on that account. So I think managing the things is very important. Like for instance, it happens with CF also, no? Because business guys will say, मेरे को ज्यादा पैसा दे दो. I want to buy 5 equipment. So at that time, CFO बोलता है, why do you require 5 equipment? You require only 3. You don't require so many people. So he becomes a controller of that account. So if CFO can manage it, I think you have to also become equivalent of that. You are also in a way checking the reasonableness of the operations on that account. So you should come out with the right kind of guidance and notes. And if they are really solid, I don't think anybody can really question you on that account. So I think CEO can probably feel uncomfortable on that account, but he will start working with you to say, let's work on this together. And I think in that context, if the material matter is not that it will bring the company down in 1 quarter, and if audit committee wants to say, ठीक है, I mean, chief internal auditor says, I will make this presentation in next quarter. And till that time, if you can work on it, I will give you revised things on that account, but give the realities. I think that can work well on that account. So creating relationship, I think you can imitate what CFO does, because यहाँ पे unlimited money तो है ही नहीं. So CFO से पैसा नहीं है इतना. So similarly, you can always say, आप अगर पैसे का बराबर use नहीं कर रहे, you are not efficiently working on it, I think you work on that particular part, then it's okay. Otherwise, we will have to inform this to the audit committee, and this is what you do on that account. Okay. I
Yes,
think
thank you.
let me complete this. After that, we can complete the remaining things on that account. Okay. So
Sure, sir.
that is another one. Then I must say, relationship expectation, and this is what the answer is really speaking. So I've already talked on those matters. You should be constructive, at the same time independent. So what happens a number of times, internal auditors say, these people have made a mistake. If you start alleging that way, then it becomes a problem. Instead of that, if report says something gone as wrong or something has gone wrong, management is seized of it and they are working together, then it becomes a constructive yet independent kind of communication. So when you are writing your internal audit reports, write it in a very positive manner, how business is working on it, how they are trying to reduce it. That will really give them also comfort, and also it becomes a positive way of putting it across to the audit committee. So this is what it is. At the same time, you must remember, you are not management shield, but it is not that you have to keep on, robbing their shield. If they want, you can protect them from that particular part. Your audit report can be structured in such a way that without losing your independence, you can communicate it in that way. And that is where your communication skills, you have to improve tremendously. Now today, a lot of those softwares which are available, apps are available. If you put your observation there, they can really speaking smoothen that thing out in such a way that you can do that particular part. Lot of those apps are available. You can use that thing. So your written skills can really improve tremendously, I believe. And then you must keep a professional distance between them. I have seen either you keep totally away from them or you get very friendly with them. I think you should have a very nice relationship in such a way that they respect you. They don't become friendly, but at the same time, they don't become your enemies also on that account. So creating right kind of relationship, people should know that ये internal auditor पूछ सकता है. You don't become a very weak person. At the same time, don't become such a top guy that you become a ringmaster, Everybody is afraid of that. So don't get into that kind of thing. So have a right kind of balance, which is very important on that account. Let's move to Indian boardroom context. I must say, many failures were compliant. It is not that they had done something wrong, but they never told what is really happening. There was no great transparency or anything on that account. And this is where it became a problem. ILFS is a live example of that. All their companies were making losses. Some of their companies were doing things. It never came as a big thing. It is not that they were not compliant, but some of those things they missed out on that account. Indigo is a live example of that. It was a great failure which was not legally not compliant. They restrained their particular part, but they never ever told to the customers on that account. Weak challenge culture, and this is where we talked about. Somebody asked the right question. I think you should have a challenging kind of culture in the organization. If audit committee meetings, you don't see any clashes. I don't want to say clashes in the real big way, but you say somebody is making a statement, somebody is doing something else. That is a good, I would say, what I should say, good pressure to have in the thing. Otherwise, it will lose its importance on that account. And worst part is number of times there is a poor escalation. Number of times the audit committee does not get information at right time, and that becomes a bit of a challenge on that particular thing on that account. So I always say, when you go out, and I always say there is a good internal audit, but then there is a trusted internal audit. So I want my audit committee is looking forward to internal audit more like a trusted internal auditors rather than the good internal auditor. Good is something who will look at, audits and controls only. So he's good. He's doing a good job. But what we want is an trusted one who looks at audit risk and behavior and also tells us the behavioral part and how you will do that particular part. He gets the right kind of root cause analysis, and he also knows the culture of the organization and how it will get handled. Similarly, reports finding comes, which is a good thing, but trusted guy is the one who explains and implications. He explains the monitoring progress, and he reports back to say, sir, last time around we had raised this point. I must say that organization has taken it seriously and work on it. So if he says that, he becomes a trusted internal auditor, not only from audit committee members, but also from the management perspective. And this is what balancing you must learn to do on that account. Now, I'm almost on the close of last two slides, and after that we can spend time on question and answers. I think what are the key takeaways? You must know audit committee is the primary client for internal auditors. You should, come out with your judgments and not necessarily checklist based observation. I have seen so many people giving a checklist observation without any judgments. They don't say how good is the organization, how good is that department, how good are the people. They will say, sir, we went there, we found 5 things wrong, and that is the way they will close that audit report. I don't want that. I want you guys to tell me how that functional work is happening, how good it is. If you can compare it, let's for instance, in Tata Motors, we had 8 units. So we'll say in, Jamshedpur, we do like this. Here in Kolkata, here in our Pune, we didn't find anything wrong. In Uttarakhand, it's something good. So that kind of judgment will go a long way rather than just giving us a checklist to say, they didn't had X, they didn't had Y. So it doesn't help you on that account. And I think I want to see their courage builds credibility. And I think this is where their body language also counts. How they walk into audit committee, with whom they sit, how comfortably and confidently they speak. Please remember, we are also good observers. When we come to the meeting, we know कौन किसके छाया में बैठता है, कौन independently बैठता है, what kind of things he talks, how confident he looks, and these are all important points. Please remember, don't think that where you are working now will be your last station. You will keep on changing stations, and you will find the same traveler who's with you. He will be meeting you sometimes else in some different decision, and at that point of time, he will realize ये एकदम ठंडा आदमी है, कुछ काम का नहीं है, then he will not take you. But if he considers you as a good thing, he will take you back on that account. And this is where I am telling you, when I was the chief of audit committee, the people, I'm not chief of audit committee, I was chief of internal audit. The audit committee members have given my references when I retired to say he's a good person, you must take him as chair of audit committee. So these are the people who will give it to you, and don't consider they are the only people. Your management also, when they change the company, they will take you with them saying that ये बंदा अच्छा है, ये बंदे को मालूम है. So I think always don't think from a short-term perspective, long-term from a long-term perspective. आपकी reputation you have to retain till the time you are alive, and not even till the time you retire, because there is also a second leg called independent directors or advisors, which you will get only if you show exemplary performance across. And this is a very important point that I will talk about it on that account. So courage builds credibility, and I've seen people who can call a spade a spade. I think those people are respected. They may not get respected at that point of time, but people keep that in back in your mind, and they take you at the right time at the right place. Closing thought. I will not spend too much time. Just 2 points from my side. Internal audit exists not to protect management. You must know that, but to protect the institution, and not even just shareholders or just regulators. It is the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, as we call it. It is meant for everybody on that particular part. With that, I want to say thank you very much. And I am in fact stopping sharing of my presentation, but I am very happy to take any questions of any kind if you feel it's necessary. Anup, over to you.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. And now I will quickly jump onto the questions that we have. Sir, the first question that we have is, repeated issues are reported to the management because they have not resolved the issue. So how to avoid this repetition? Like, is there anything that I can do about it?
See, depending on the type of that reporting or the contents, if you want to sort it out with management as an internal audit member, you are entitled to do that. There is no problem on that account. But so far, it is manageable there, and you don't require interference from audit committee. We are also very happy. A lot of things happen that way. This is where maturity comes. So I always believe there is nothing like right or wrong thing. You must think of future. Can this hurt you over a period of time? Then you better tell. For instance, regulatory compliance, if it is going to come, you don't have a choice. But if, let's say, you have something which is manageable, you can always say, ठीक है, I'm giving you time and we work on that particular part. So वैसा कुछ problem नहीं है. Don't bring too late. By that time, it has become a big fire. That's the point I'm saying. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. So the other question is, what assurance has to be provided to the chairman during separate meetings with the chair as required under RBI?
See, I think I must tell you that it's a good question that that person has asked. He's probably coming from that kind of industry of BFSI. See, audit committee is intermediate between regulator and also the bank. Bank also has a direct access to the, RBI also has direct access to the bank. You must know that particular part. So they keep on giving a lot of information. When I am there as an audit committee member, I am not a shield between bank and RBI. I am a good conductor between them. And that good conductor is the one who creates right kind of information and important thing to the RBI on that account. And of late, RBI doesn't seek any information from chief of internal audit unless they are a chief of audit committee, unless they are uncomfortable on it. Over and about that, there is some typical process through which they meet during inspection time or something like that. That is also need-based. So what I'm saying is, regulator is a different entity, audit committee is a different entity. So don't think that you are sacrificing for each other on that account. Audit committee will never tell anybody to sacrifice because RBI will ask you for that particular part. Because we are with RBI very clearly, and we are with the company also. And this is where we will do that particular thing to see what is the best in our solution, and we'll work on that. So I think This is where it comes. So don't give surprises, is what I will say to the internal auditors. Come out with a proper thing, discuss it with audit committee, come out with a methodology, which I think should not be a problem. But if tomorrow there is a genuine problem, it is better that management goes and talks to regulator rather than audit committee or chair of audit committee talking about it. And that will happen only if the management doesn't agree. Then I think it's a different story. But in most of the good companies, this kind of problem doesn't happen. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, sir. I think
Okay.
we may have kind of 5 to 6 more questions.
Yeah.
Yes. So how does chairman handle a disclaimer of opinion given in the statutory audit report?
I must say that, opinions of audit committee, I mean, for the statutory auditors, don't come as a big surprise to the chair of audit committee very clearly. Good practice is I meet invariably the audit committee, I mean, statutory auditors ahead of audit committee meeting. And they discuss with us their reports, what are their findings and what are their challenges on that account. So in that regard, there are no surprises there. And if there are some surprises like that, it is a very difficult thing to do, but it has never happened in my lifetime. So I think a good chair of audit committee will take care that audit committee chair and sometimes even entire audit committee, I belong to that school of thought. I invite other people also to come in. And by virtue of that, we meet up with the statutory auditor, we get to know their challenges, their meetings, and on that account, and we do that independently. After that, we bring in management also if there are issues. So I don't think there is any big issue that comes up on that account in the real lifetime audit committee. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, sir. The next question, what information will chair expect from internal auditor or on for related party transactions in a small organization's perspective? So when particularly transactions done with the subsidiaries.
Sorry, transaction done with
Subsidiaries.
subsidiaries.
Yes, subsidiaries,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I must say that under the new law now, under the accounting standards, SA 600, the parent company has to take care of their consolidated entities. So it implies that even statutory audit, including the internal audits, everything has to be taken care by the parent company's audit committee. So how they rely on it and how they believe in it becomes an important point that you have to look at it from that perspective. So there is nothing like, I would say, you can say subsidiary ka hai to mere ko pata nahi chalega. That kind of thing is not acceptable. So you must have access, and if you can't have access, no problems. You must tell this to the audit committee. Audit committee might appoint another auditor if there is a challenge on that account to do the thing. But then both of them will come and report it to the audit committee together. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Sir, there is one situation-based question that we have. So, where on the day of audit committee, internal audit team getting a clear indication about a misappropriation happened at one of the branches, which probably involved a material amount. So, how can the internal auditor present as an HI in the audit committee, as it is a surprise as well as half-cooked one at the stage, as a detailed verification is going on? So, at that point of time, what the internal auditor can do?
Yeah, I think internal auditor has to look at it in its thorough things. It is not necessary that he has to announce it immediately. He can take his own time. He can spend a day more if he wants and accordingly work on the thing. Unless and until you are sure about it, you can't really, inform somebody just like that. If you want, you can do that, but it doesn't help beyond a stage. And at latter stage, if you say, no, no, there is no matter, there is no problem, then it will look like a joker's ugly side. So I think you should see to it that unless and until you are confident of telling it, you should do it. It doesn't matter whether it happens on a day of audit committee or otherwise. So timing is important, but it is not that important that, at that point of time, at that second, without knowing, you should talk about it. Yeah. But then you can always send somebody out, or you can even step out to say, sir, I am on something. I'll come back to you. And then in next few hours, you can always tell, but you should not tell audit committee unless management is involved in that. You can't go to audit committee just like that. Yeah, MD first of all should know. Then only you will come back, na, basically. Unless you feel MD has only done it, then it's a different story. That doesn't happen, sir, in big companies. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, sir. Sir, we have two questions. I'll just merge it. Like, what should be the frequency of meeting with the audit committee? And should the auditor get to meet the audit committee members independent of the management members?
Oh, yes. It is mandatory for everybody to meet up independent of management thing, at least in regulatory entities. And with this thing, you have a two-way right. Audit committee will ask to meet up. They may decide, I would say, I meet up with them 4 times in a quarter. I believe in it. But over and above that, they have a right to send a communication to the chair of audit committee to say, I want to meet up with you. Audit committee chair will certainly meet them. And he will also ask whether I can bring my audit committee members. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Sir, now this is kind of a statement for your comments. The scope of internal audit is decided by the management, and if internal auditors try to ask any questions which, according to management, is not as per scope, the internal auditors are restricted to conduct verification and inform that this is out of scope. In such case, even if internal auditor presumes some risk, they are not allowed to highlight the same in the report. So, how to go about it?
No, I think these are all according to me. ये तो Netflix पे वगैरह एडवर्टाइज बड़ा सीरियल आ सकता है उसमें. Let me put it this way very clearly. Audit committee requires something called scoping. You have to do it. Number one. Number two, if auditors have put up their audit plan and what they want to do, and they don't get information of that, they should exhaust all their options with existing management. And if they don't get it from existing management, I think you should keep audit committee informed about it. And the fourth one is, if the matter is so important and it is so, I would say, damaging to the company, there is no way anybody can, I would say, anybody can say that it is what I should say. Nobody can say don't inform it to the audit committee. You as an individual have the right to tell this to the audit committee. And if somebody tells you is out of scope, you should say, if it is out of scope, I have no problems, I'm increasing the scope. That's what it is. So that's what you have the right to do that. And this is where independence counts a lot. And if you don't use that as a part of your independence, you have lost your battle. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, sir. And I think last two questions. So what is one major challenge you foresee for internal audit in the next few years that you think we are not prepared for?
Well, I would say, can you imagine somebody like a chief internal auditor can be your bot? Robo? And all of us can report to him. All of us means the internal auditors can report to that robo. Is it possible? Is it? No? It's possible. Number one. Number two, I think the existence of audit committee internal audit may not remain, because if you are going to use automations and artificial intelligence, your part can be a part of this particular part. For instance, SAP and everybody has their audit trails, right, with them. That audit trail can be monitored and observed very well. And by virtue of that, lot of things you can come out on your own to find out what is happening. So these days are not far off. You will find that unless and until you are a quality guy who understands business, who understands the processes, you will not find you becoming an internal auditor. So there will be a redundancy of internal auditors who are previously, would look at the manuals thing, look at papers and all. Now everything will come out on its own. Now, there are a lot of apps which are available. You can study the law. I mean, the agreements. You will get to know what is missing from there. So those are all pointers will come in very handy. What would take you some 4 hours of work, you will do it in 10 minutes or 15 minutes of time. So you know what are the point to look at it. So now these are all things you are doing it now. you will find you will start using bots at low level, and it's not far off. You'll find somebody better coming out on that account. And then probably the person will come out more like a, our what you call that apna ye hota hai na, your what you call in your smartphone. I don't use it. All that thing you can keep on getting answers on your own on that account. So it's not far off. You will find one bot sitting there to correct you all the information.
Yes, that would be very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. So last question, and I think everyone would have this. Independence is a state of mind, but the job of internal auditor is paid by the management. So how to balance it practically?
Boss, this is where I think one thing I can tell you, I always advise people, there is a black side and there is a white side. White side means everything official, and black side means that everything is wrong, right? In between, there is something called gray, the color of gray. So it all depends on your ability where you want to remain in that gray. There are some smart people who बोलते हैं कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. I can be almost like a dark gray, then you are almost hinging on to the black side of the light. And there are some people like me who will say, I would much rather be near white, and I would much rather not take anything uncomfortable. Then there are groups, there are industries who will, you accordingly work on that, you will be comfortable on that account. So I think everybody has to decide what is his level of, how he looks at the things on that account, how comfortable he's playing in gray. And this is where, number of times you don't get answers which are, it is not mathematics or it is not scientific. So you will get subjective answers and you have to take a call based on that. That's what it is. Yeah. So we are done, right? Thank you very much, Anup.
Yes. Thank you, sir. And as we come to the end of this webinar, I'll just quickly propose a heartfelt vote of thanks. So I
Thanks, sir.
extend my warm thanks to our distinguished speaker, CA Nagesh Pinge sir, for sharing his knowledge and perspectives with real life and practical examples from the vast experience that he has, which will surely help and has helped our audience going ahead. And also, I thank our audience for their enthusiastic participation, thoughtful engagement, and their keen interest as we saw in the questions coming in throughout the session. We also gratefully acknowledge our Honorable Chairman and Vice Chairman of ISB, who could not be with us today, but whose vision, guidance, and continued encouragement remain a strong source of inspiration for all of us. And finally, I thank all the back-end organizing team for their dedication and behind-the-scene efforts that ensured the smooth conduct of this event. So once again, thank you all for your time, presence, and support. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.